Hello, and welcome to Sheepdog Says. I'm Sheepdog, and today I wanted to talk about random fads. Um, Everyone knows these things, like from growing up. You must have had loads of them when you were at school. It's interesting knowing that the bubble I grew up at primary school to secondary school in, when these things actually mattered, doesn't obviously match with everybody else's times at school. And right now, my daughter's going through her time at school, and all the fads are coming and going. And it's just really interesting and weird watching them happen because she takes them as seriously as I did when I was that age, to a point. But I don't really get their ones. But then I look at some of ours and they didn't make much sense either. What I mean is the kind of things that sort of sweep the school playground as you're growing up. So the earliest one I remember is pogs when they become a thing. Little cardboard circles, and you used to hit them with a plastic or metal one, and if it flipped, you got to take it. I must have had a couple, probably 500 or 600 of them, if not more. We used to buy the metal things. I want to say they were called keenies, but I don't remember if that was what they were actually called. And you'd flick them down, and it'd slam it and turn it over. I didn't learn that much from that sort of stuff. I was a bit of a monster in that both them and Tazos were the next thing that Warner Brothers brought out and gave away and stuff. They're basically ones with gaps in them. I think you're supposed to piece them together or whatever, I don't know. But all they taught me was how to become a bit of a grifter, a bit of a salesman. I remember selling a tub. About a year or two after Pogs were cool, I sold a massive box of them to a kid on my street for something like 15, 20 quid. They must have had a value of about a quid. I doubt there was even 20 quid's worth there new, but he went and got 20 quid off his mum, come round and bought them off me, and then I imagine they're probably still in his mum's garage somewhere if they're not on a scrap heap. I did the same thing with Tazos. I remember I'd refused to get involved because they just seemed lame. There was Star Wars and there were Warner Brothers, and I was never into either. Well, I was into Warner Brothers, never into Star Wars, and they become the big craze that everyone was obsessed with. And one day I found 5 on the floor, and no one around me, wanted them, knew about them, whatever. And I offered them up. I said, I'm selling these. Who wants them? And somebody offered me a fiver for them. And I was like, this doesn't make any sense. And maybe it wasn't a five. Maybe it's like a couple, 2-3 quid. But I was like, this doesn't make any sense. But okay, I'll take your money. So then, next thing I know, I'm going into the shops. How much are these to buy new? Oh, a pack's only like a quid. I'll buy 3 packs. I go back into school and I see who wants to buy them off me. And my God, kids are stupid, because I made quite a lot of money out of that. I must have been 12, 13, and was just flogging them. And I started my own little cottage industry because I was buying more, selling more. I started selling computer game cheats that I'd got off of. I had a cheat book I'd got off of Games Master magazine, and I used to just end up writing my own cheat magazines on paper. And if I didn't have enough, I'm sure I've told the story before, but if I didn't have enough cheats for that run, I'd just make them up and then sell them. So instead of it being like 20 legitimate cheats, it was maybe 15 and a couple of fake ones. And I'd say, oh, you're just doing it wrong, never mind. And it was interesting actually learning what kids were liars, because I remember Mortal Kombat doing a cheat on that, or writing a cheat on that to say that if you do this cheat, it'll make one of the female characters nude. And this kid bought it off me, went home, did the cheat. And then the next day I was like, did it work? Thinking, I know it didn't work because I made it up. And he's like, oh yeah. Oh, it works. Oh, Jesus, that was amazing. Yeah, I loved that. Giving it all the definitely, that. And I'm stood there thinking, you mug, you've just paid me money to then lie to me and try and look good. I don't really get it. And bearing in mind, I wasn't like a kid who was strong and big and tough and would have threatened him into doing it. I was just a weedy little kid going, I want to buy some cheats from my homemade, written on a pen and pad, cheat setup. But I'm going off the tangent a little bit here. But yeah, these fads used to just come and go, and it'd always be the same thing. A cool kid would get something. It would sweep around the school a little bit. I'd ask for one, or I wouldn't have any money, or whatever. And then, or I wouldn't really think much of it because I'd be like, it's not going to last. And then suddenly it become the big thing, and I'd be like, Mum, we have to go out. I remember Tamagotchis when I was in year 8. I was 12. The Tamagotchis came out, the little key rings with the virtual pet on them. And everyone was getting them, and I said, Mum, we have to go and get this, and we have to, like, I'm the only kid in school who's not going to have one. If I don't go out now, I'm not going to get one. And I think we went out to 4 or 5 different shops, and they were all sold out, and we were driving around, and we were making so much effort for this, the sort of effort that I would never make as a parent now. For what my mum, God bless, you know, thank you very much if you're watching, the amount of effort she went to. We ended up going to, I can't even remember what the shop was called. Jesus, it's a shop that doesn't even exist anymore. And we went there, and they had these, like, they weren't Tamagotchis, they were, I don't even know what they were called, they were like knockoffs. It was basically a dog, a virtual dog, and what you did is you started off with a puppy, and if you fed it lots, it would grow into a bigger dog. But if you fed it too much, it'd become a fat dog. If you fed it too little, it'd be too skinny, it'd be ill. If you looked after it just right, then it would stay healthy, and you could see how long it lived for. Now, again, rather than just playing the game normally, I figured out pretty quick that it gained a year of life every day as the clock went from 59 to 0. So I used to just spend car journeys just running a clock to 11:59, letting it tick over, and then starting it again to see how old I can get. I mean, I'd be going at school going, yeah, look, mine's 900 days old. No one would say to me, well, the fad's only been going for 3 months. Like, you can't have a 900-day-old one. I'd be like, yeah. You know, I've had this for 3 months now. Got them before they were cool. I think they caught on pretty quick that I was cheating at it, but I remember we'd swap, and like I'd take my mate's alien home and he'd take my dog home, and then I ended up getting one of the proper ones, probably as a gift for my birthday or something like that. And it feels like in my mind the Tamagotchis were around way longer than any other fad that I got involved in. But at some point I had 2 or 3 of them. I remember one breaking and the dog one just being discarded, but somehow I found it. Like, so this would have been year 8. I'd have found it 3 or 4 years later. Somehow the battery was still working. Somehow the dog was still alive. All I had to do was give him some food, and he was still happy and well. I couldn't believe that it had survived that long. It was just like, what the hell? How has this happened? But I'd love to be able to dig that out and show my kids now, because they'd be so confused as to why this was a thing that swept schools and everyone got obsessed with them, because they could probably code one of them in their IT lessons now. I remember that at that point getting a bit fed up with these fads. Yo-yos became a thing, and I just didn't understand it. I just thought it was really lame, and just probably the worst fad that we ever had. I'll never forget this kid who was very, very well off, and a bit of a knob. He basically came in with this £90 yo-yo that he'd got, and he's doing all these tricks. Look at me, I'm amazing, I can do all this. And I'm thinking, you're such a loser. And he's doing all these things, and then someone walked up to him, picked it up, and just hurled it across our playground, and it shattered into 1,000 pieces. And looking back as an adult, I'd be mortified if that happened to my kids, and I'd be mortified to see that happen. But as a kid, it was the most satisfying thing ever, because it was like the first time I'd seen a fad become a bit pay to play. Like, if I went in with my £2 yo-yo, it would have just gone whoo, and just rolled off the string and down the road, and I'd have just had a piece of string in my hand. But he had this stupid one that was designed to do tricks, and I still can't believe that was ever a fad. It just seems mental. But then I look at what my daughter has as fads now, which was the inspiration for this video and the point of me doing it. When she was in like year 2, it was loom bands, which apparently were a big fad when I was a kid. I don't remember them, so they might have been the fad before Pogs, for all I know. But loom bands, you just kind of twist around and make armbands and bracelets with, and my daughter became obsessed with that for a while, and she had all the sets, and she'd make them, and I'd end up with all these blue bloody armbands that she'd made me. I remember this evil woman who was the head of house at the school I worked at. She had an event, like a sports day or something, and she got her daughter to make all of the teachers in her house green ones. And I was in her house, and she just basically went, oh, I've got one for everyone, but not you, Richard. I was just like, well, screw you. I don't even want one. But that every time I think of him, I think of that woman just being like, yeah, I haven't got you one because you didn't like me. And it's like, I don't care. I do care a little bit. I resented it, but I don't really care. After loom bands, my daughter became obsessed with slime, and I don't really get that. Now, I know that Anna mention slime every year when we do the Google Zeitgeist review of the year. How to make slime is always one of the #1 searches every year. It has been for 3 or 4 years now. But my daughter is obsessed with slime, to the point where my son today got a magazine, a Pokemon magazine, that came with Grimer slime. And my daughter was like, I want that slime, give it to me, give it to me. And it's like, it's just the same squidgy stuff you sit upstairs, just blobbing in your hands and putting back in. It's really weird. She's got all these tubs of slime, and her room is starting to look like this weird scientist's laboratory or something. It's the sort of thing you see oozing out of the streets in some country where industrial laws are quite lax. The current one is Squishies, which again I don't get. They're just soft, squishy toys, and like they smell really weird. They're supposed to smell of stuff. She keeps telling me it's a marshmallow or a popcorn or this or that. They all just smell like styrofoam and weird disgustingness. But they're all obsessed with them. It's her friend's birthday on Saturday, and she keeps saying, oh, no, he likes squishies. And I'm thinking, does he? And do you really want to get someone like a £5 squishy when you should be getting a proper gift? Like something they're just going to go, oh, great, in my collection of squishies that I'm just going to squeeze every now and again. Is this just the people that made stress balls have just remarketed stress balls? Because I've got a lot of squishies. They're these ball things that I squeeze when I'm annoyed at work, or throw at my colleague when he's bothering me. Or at the moment, I've got a habit of pulling them open and then turning them into one of the dog ball things from Mario, which I think that looks pretty cool. And we also obviously had what they called, those fidget spinners. The kids both got well into them. I found them a bit baffling, but I get it. It's about having something to do. They make sense. They have a kind of a logic to them that I know a lot of people find a lot of peace from them. And I'm not saying anyone's wrong for liking them, except for yo-yos. Yo-yos were just wrong. Everything else, I'm just kind of like, yeah, if they've got a game to them, if they've got a bit of peace to them. The squishies I just don't get, and the slime, because slime's not that satisfying. It's disgusting and puts my back up. I never remember, and just before I finish, I never remember growing up any of the fad dances that we now have. I remember Saturday night doing the, that sort of thing, but that was not really a fad. That's not something people would just do on videos or in the street or whatever. Whereas, like, we had the craze with Gangnam Style years ago, which I'm probably still one of the few people, and my brother-in-law thinks I'm an absolute loser for this, because I take I shouldn't take pride in it, but I do. I've never heard that song all the way through. I've heard little bits of it. It's got to the point where if it comes on now, I just kind of do this and I leave the room, because I've got a run going. I've never heard it properly. I don't know the song. I know bits of the song. I can guess when the song's on, but I've never heard it, which I feel like, considering it's had billions of views, I've done all right there. But that inspired like the Harlem Shake and all these other things. But at the moment, just before putting the kids to bed, my wife said to me, have you heard of a game called Fortnite? And I was like, yeah, I've played it with Kevin and Anna. And she said, apparently it's responsible for flossing. And my daughter was like, yeah, flossing. She talked about it loads, and it's a dance that people have done on telly, and it's coming to the end of that fad, but I think it's just getting into primary schools a bit more. But my wife was like, yeah, apparently one of the social workers at her work mentioned it, and they were YouTubing it, and they were trying to figure it out, and my daughter was showing her how to do it, and my son knew how to do it, and I remember trying to do it the other day, and my daughter going, that's not it. And I was like, I'm never trying that again, never ever. It's so bad, I'm not even putting it on video, because it was just ridiculous. But is it because we've got videos now? But these dances were not a thing. If they were, then I've forgotten a lot of it. I wasn't very switched on to what was going on around me growing up. I was too busy building these random little pog selling empires and being a real geek. There was a point between, I made a note, between yo-yos and pretty much being a parent, all I was into was video games, girls, drinking, alcohol, and that's pretty much it. So they were my fads from then on. I don't remember there being anything. Pop vinyls are probably the closest I've had. I've probably got about 20 of them. I know like the likes of Kev again have got like hundreds of them, but I collect like the superhero ones usually, so that sort of thing. At some point, I'd love to move a shelf behind, move them all on like he does, because I think it's a cool backdrop. At the moment, they're in my living room. But other than pop vinyls, I can't think of anything that'd be fad worthy for an adult now. Genuinely, I'd love to get into that, because when I was really into pop vinyls, it was something that I'd go out of my way to get. Now I'm like, other than playing Pokemon Go, which again was a fad, I guess there isn't really anything that I'm faddy about at the moment. And I'm thinking, There's going to be something big on the horizon, surely. We need this year's Pokemon Go. But anyway, going to wrap up there. Let me know what fads you had when you were at school, whether you remember these fads, whether you ended up getting a dodgy Sheepdog homemade cheat book from school that didn't work. That'd be quite funny. I know that no one will have. Yeah, just let me know your thoughts on them. I find these things fascinating because I don't mind getting them for my kids. I recognise they've got to be in on them and that, but it is weird. I'd love to be up there high going, this is going to be the thing. We're going to make kids collect metal butterflies from now on. They're going to become the fad. I've got 2 here. Bidding starts at 100 quid. I don't know why there's a metal butterfly there. I just saw it out of the corner of my eye and thought, that's going to be this year's hottest fad. You've heard it here first. The butterfly salespeople are going to be like, whoa! But if it ain't that, then let's make it the seeds you get free from Harvester when you buy a meal. That's enough from me. I'll see you tomorrow. I think it got off the rails a bit at the end there. Thank you very much for watching. Subscribe, comment, watch more videos, hit like. I never check whether I actually do point it or whether it's this side. But whatever side it is, just hit subscribe. I need to get to 1,000 and I'm at 200 and something at the moment. So help me out. Thanks for watching. See you soon.